All right, all right. Thank you all for tuning in, listening in. Let me let me just drop a little knowledge here today. Everybody. Many people not have seen, and I'm going to upload the interview with myself and Jason Black. Just recently had the film Race War in DC, but before that, he did a screening in New York, and I had the opportunity to interview Brother Jason in the Baltimore market for that, and you can go to his YouTube page and hear that. But I want to expand this conversation because there was a discussion that I became aware of where someone took the time and the opportunity to offer some criticisms of particular voices, particular conscious voices. And these gentlemen who have certainly some questionable backgrounds and questionable practices have vehemently, I wouldn't say ridiculed, but they certainly have questioned as well as also slandered many of these brothers and organizations. Now, rather recently, there's been much discussion, for instance, in the Baltimore market about crime and reducing crime, and the Nation of Islam came up on one particular occasion, and there was one of these particular 4Ds that went on a kind of tear on this on one of the Baltimore stations, on the 10 station, on a show that comes on every Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And so each and every Wednesday they are slandering, for instance, the Nation of Islam, as well on this other station where a former Nation of Islam member continues to slander the local members and referring to them as cowards and fake Muslims and Asalama fakeums. So, I just wonder, what has the Nation of Islam done to this individual, particularly when they have a history of reducing crime in the community. So I'm honestly just concerned with that. But, for instance, there was recently an episode where one of these individuals threw Dr. Umar and Tariq in the mix together, and attempted to discredit them, and said that they want to be up around speakers, and they want some credibility, so they keep doing these documentaries. And should anybody go see these documentaries of these fake actors, and none of these people uh, have these individuals are just centered in the Baltimore market. No one actually is aware of them. I mean, they never go anywhere outside of Baltimore, so perhaps they may just be angry, and just a case that I saw that perhaps that they were more so just angry and jealous was one of them mentioned that one of the local brothers, Jabari, who brings in speakers from different places, they said you wouldn't have David Johnson and myself speaking. But I just wonder, like, weren't all of these individuals that's together for this older that is supporting Hogan? His name is Abba Issa, and they were just at some celebration type of thing. Now, couldn't you say something to Jabari right there, but you went to get on the radio and slander his name for bringing in Umar, Dr. Umar, and people like Polite? Now, I would say, now Polite I did have questions. Why would they do that? But some people don't have any moral, you know, in terms of bringing in speakers, and some of you out there, you don't have any direction in terms of who you need to listen to, or which films or books you need to read, or which organizations have the right message for you. So you're just kind of flustered and just following anybody. But uh, I just said to these individuals, well, couldn't you have said all of that to Jabari, who supports this older elder at that particular time? You could have said something to them right there. Why get on the radio? Because what's going on is kind of like a conscious, angry black money grab. Like, how can you galvanize the brokest listeners that you possibly can find? How can you organize individuals that, for the most part, don't have any consciousness, direction for their own life? And how can you get them to finance your radio program? Even, and it's really sad because even though you talk about some of these people talk about black, you know, Radio One is not black totally, as well as this other station is run by the Chinese. So here you are. You've been two of these people been paying white folks and Chinese folk all this money for all these years to get your message out to the masses of people. And here's some people that have, moved their message and position their message where they can get paid off of, for instance, YouTube. So, it's a new, what Jason Black would refer to as the old black Negro media versus the new media. And I just had to put it out there because, many people, for instance, the Nation of Islam, how they've been slandered for years and, been called cowards or taken up for white people. I mean, this is kind of a confusing message from a former member who perhaps wanted to be like the leader of the Baltimore Nation of Islam organization. But, unfortunately, that didn't happen for him. So, what is the question in terms of how should we evaluate these people? And one of them is actually running as a Republican for sheriff. And so I'm just wondering, and realizing that some of these people are actually sent into our community to disrupt and disengage the masses of the people with their illogical rants and propaganda and their lack of strategies. And so what I have to say is that I don't believe that these people have legitimacy in their offerings and their critiques. And so we have to look at them, particularly when you're talking about people that don't have a woman or something like that, and you've had a history, for instance, of not taking care of your children. And when your children's mother have to come to a meeting and ask for money because you financing this Chinese radio program, that's a problem. That's a problem, and that's probably why the Nation of Islam didn't accept that. Now, I had another point that I was thinking about in those regards, because if your children are starving and you have other ethnic groups, this is for black men, real black men, you're not going to just sit on radio and talk stuff. You're going to get out here and you're going to, man the hell up, and you're going to feed your damn children. Some little Asian store, they're not going to be getting their profits. Or some little other type of store, they're not going to be making that money. And so when we have groups of black men that redirect that energy, outside and towards, our own people, because our own people are not able to finance their lifestyle because they don't want to work, they don't want to be productive, they don't want to add value, they don't want to listen to the right scholars and learn how to develop multiple income streams to be self-sustaining, right? And so this is where I am. I mean, uh, I realize that after listening to these individuals, for some years, I realized that they don't have the best, strategy for our community. It's just, there's no path, there's no direction. It's narrow. And so when you are attempting to critique people like Jason Black and, just throwing out little small, he don't show a picture, I mean, it's not about him. It's just a film. He didn't say, I'm declared the leader. But, some people just want attention. And unfortunately, if they're not able to get attention, they try to get it in a negative manner. So I'm saying that for those who are really, truly conscious, those who are, really building and going places and making moves, I say stay connected to the Success Scholar. We have this next film, and even, took some shots, at myself, and perhaps it may be around or um, around this Million Man March documentary that's going to be coming out. So just take a look for that. So the trailer is out. You can Google, and you type Million Man March trailer in there to look at that. And let me just make this plain. No, I'm not trying to, and I don't know where somebody get that from, that I was trying to claim the heir to Dick Gregory. I'm not a damn comedian. No, but I was the last one to bring Steve Coakley to the Baltimore market, as well as I was the last one to bring Dr. Francis Cress Wilson to the Baltimore market. And honestly, some of these people, they wouldn't know about PKV if it wasn't for me. And you wouldn't know about a lot of other things, but I ain't going to take credit, and I know that, some people like Baba Issa, he doesn't have any real solutions, just support Hogan. That's just his solution, like, really? And that's why I'm just like, man, I listen to real scholars, bro. I ain't showing up at no event honoring no so-called older that, can't intellectually break down, this system. You've been around almost down there 70 years, and your best solution is support, Hogan's, Trump's right-hand man. So I'm like, man, this is some confusing Negro stuff. And all of them, they all in that little confused circle. They have stayed victims of the system of racism, white supremacy. And they haven't moved to develop any true independence, for themselves, independent ideas, organizing strategies. Hmm? And this is why they're trying to build some little coalition so that they can sap off, the real conscious movements, that is building, that Nation of Islam, for instance, have established, try to siphon off, the lost, followers through this old media that a bunch of old Negroes listen to, a bunch of old Negroes that are not, for real, doing anything to, bring relevant, timeful, impactful, transformational information. And this is why I had to move to, be in another film with a black billionaire. And this is why I had to, co-author this book and have other products, that are out here. And so, I'm just moving in a different pace, And yes, I do have a decent father that's still around, fortunately, and that's a blessing, regardless of where he's at with any and everything. So I mean, some folks are just jealous and envious, of people's holistic perspective, people's holistic lifestyles. And let me just say this: one thing I don't do that many of these black men, this is why, I'm at a different level. They accept, you know, unconscious black women in their life. They have allowed for themselves, allowed for their women to stay ignorant. And this is why they're not progressing. And this is why I'm going to progress. Because I have a standard of knowledge, of work ethic, of what's going to happen, what must happen, how are we going to organize. So, and this is what real black men need to do with their women. You shouldn't be dropping a bunch of babies if you know you can't take care of them. And if the woman can't take care of them, right? I mean, somewhere along the line, you got to have some skills and some cash flow and some good health. And, you got to have some social capital out here in the market, some credibility, some knowledge. And this is where, sometimes individuals have to take their time and overcome the deep psychology and poverty that, many of us grew up with. And stop making a bunch of babies that you can't take care of. You would be so angry. I think that's part of the problem. Poverty breeds frustration and desperation. And this is why many of them are swinging on, Boss Hogan, Boss Hogan, trying to get some biscuits out of Hogan, the Negro running for sheriff, confusing the masses of black people, sounding angry, but reading the scripts from neo Klansmen and conservatives. So, and they're not going to accept you, and you shouldn't want to be accepted by many of them, right? So stop playing, accept your own, and do for self. Stop being angry, insane, troublemaker. And almost like if I didn't know any better, I would suspect that many of these people are certainly agent provocateurs. So that's all I have. I'm getting ready to go. Luke got my brother in town that came to holler at me. So let me go ahead out and make some moves. But I just wanted to drop that, man. So yeah, these folks took shots at Dr. Umar and Tariq and and Jason Black. I mean, this guy went off on Jason Black. Like, really? Like, you don't know him, man. Stop hating, man. Stop hating. I mean, just stop being a hater, man. I mean, Nation of Islam didn't keep you in. Obviously, they thought you weren't built like that. So, I know it might feel a little funny if you were a part and now you're not. So you have to try to make people think there's something wrong with them, right? So that's all I have, y'all. I say continue to build, stay connected to the Success Scholar as we make moves and go to another level. I'm out. How do I get out of here?